Captain stood in the command center of the Leviathan, watching the strange blue light dance across her screens. The message had arrived 3 hours ago through quantum channels that most of Earth's scientists still called impossible. Yet here it was, written in perfect English with mathematical proofs that checked out flawlessly. "Captain, the translation team has finished their work," said Lieutenant Commander Sarah, stepping up beside's chair. "They're calling themselves the Galactic Confederation. Apparently, they've been watching us for the past 50 years. Raised an eyebrow, watching us. Radio signals, satellite transmissions, basic telescope observations. They think they know what kind of species we are." Sarah handed her a tablet. "They want to meet us at a place called Rest. It's a neutral station about 40 light years from here." The message was formal and polite, but could read between the lines. The Confederation spoke like adults talking to children. They used words like emerging civilization and basic technological development. They asked Earth to send a small diplomatic vessel for what they called preliminary discussions about possible membership. "They want us to bring a shuttle," said, reading the exact words. "Something appropriate for a species of our current capabilities." Sarah laughed. "Should we tell them the Leviathan is our idea of a small diplomatic vessel?" "Not yet," said. She walked to the main and looked out at the stars. Earth was just a tiny blue dot from this distance, but she could see 3 other human ships moving in formation nearby. To anyone watching with normal sensors, space looked empty. "Have we heard anything from the other fleets?" "Admiral says the 4th Fleet is ready if we need them. The 7th Fleet is already in position near Rest, but they're staying invisible for now." Sarah checked her. "Captain, are you sure about this? Maybe we should send an actual shuttle, something that looks more normal." Shook her head. 40 years ago, when we first detected alien signals, the Defense Council made a decision. We would never appear weak to unknown species. We would never let them think humans were easy targets." She turned back to Sarah. "The Confederation has been watching us, but they've only seen what we wanted them to see. Old rockets, primitive satellites, basic radio signals. They have no idea what we've really been building." The Leviathan was 300 meters long and carried a crew of 80 humans. By Earth standards, it was a medium-sized exploration ship. Remembered her grandfather telling stories about the old space shuttles that could barely reach Earth's moon. Those shuttles were smaller than the Leviathan's engine room. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from Earth Command," announced the communications officer. "Put it through." Admiral's face appeared on the screen. He was sitting in the underground command center in Colorado, 40 light years away, but quantum communication made the conversation instant. "The President has approved your mission. You have full diplomatic authority to negotiate with this confederation. But remember, you're also authorized to protect Earth's interests by any means necessary." "Understood, sir. What about the backup plans?" "Operation Sunset is approved if things go badly. Captain Williams and the dreadnought Thor are standing by in the outer system. The alien station won't detect them unless they want to be detected." Nodded. The Thor was one of humanity's warships, built in the secret shipyards beyond Pluto. It was designed to fight entire fleets by itself. She hoped they wouldn't need it, but Admiral was right to keep it close. "Sir, what do our intelligence people think about these aliens?" "The analysis team says the Confederation probably has thousands of member species, spread across multiple spiral arms of the galaxy. They're old, established, and they like to stay in control. New species usually join as junior partners and stay that way for centuries." "They want us to be their servants," said. "That's what it looks like. The question is whether we're going to let them think that's possible." After the transmission ended, walked through the ship's corridors. The Leviathan looked normal from the outside, but inside it was packed with technology that would have seemed like magic to humans just 2 centuries ago. The walls were made of smart materials that could repair themselves and change their properties instantly. The artificial gravity came from controlled manipulation of spacetime itself. In the engineering section, she found Chief Martinez working on the main drive systems. The engine room was surprisingly quiet, with only a soft humming sound from the reality manipulation cores. "How are we looking, Chief?" "All systems are perfect, Captain. We could jump to rest in 6 hours, but I recommend we take the slow route. Let them see us coming on their sensors. Make them think we're using normal faster-than-light travel." "Good thinking. What about our weapons?" Martinez grinned. "The defense grid is online but hidden. The gravitational pulse cannons are charged and ready. The quantum disruptors are in standby mode. If someone tries to scan us deeply, they'll just see a normal exploration ship with basic defensive systems." Liked Martinez because he understood the plan without needing explanations. For 300 years, humanity had been preparing for contact with alien civilizations. They had learned from every war in human history, every mistake, every moment when someone had been caught unprepared. The Defense Council had decided that humanity would never be the weak newcomers in galactic politics. They would be the ones who surprised everyone else. "Captain," called the navigation officer, "we're ready to begin the journey to rest. Estimated travel time is 72 hours if we want to look like a normal ship. Begin the approach. Make sure our emissions match what they expect from a primitive human vessel." Return to her command chair. "And send a message to the Confederation. Tell them we accept their invitation and look forward to peaceful discussions about Earth's place in galactic civilization." As the Leviathan began moving toward its destination, smiled. The aliens expected to meet a backward species flying a crude spaceship. Instead, they were about to encounter humanity's idea of diplomacy. It was going to be an interesting meeting. Rest was beautiful in the way that only alien architecture could be. The station hung in space like a crystal flower, its transparent walls showing the stars beyond. Captain watched it grow larger on her screens as the Leviathan approached the docking ring. "Captain, we're receiving approach instructions," said Lieutenant. "They want us to use docking port 7. It's designed for smaller vessels." Almost smiled. The aliens still thought the Leviathan was large for a human ship, if they only knew that Earth's dreadnoughts were over 2 kilometers long. "Follow their instructions. And remember, everyone acts like this is the biggest ship we've ever built." The docking process was smooth, though notice that alien sensors were scanning them constantly. The scans were sophisticated but not sophisticated enough to penetrate the Leviathan's hidden defenses. To outside observers, the ship looked like exactly what the Confederation expected, a well-built but primitive vessel with basic shields and simple weapons. 2 hours later, walked through the station's main corridors toward the meeting hall. The artificial gravity was slightly lighter than Earth normal, and the air had a faint, sweet smell that the briefing materials said was normal for most alien species. The meeting hall was enormous, with a curved ceiling that showed holographic stars. Around a large circular table sat representatives from a dozen different species, but attention went immediately to the 2 aliens at the head of the table. Ambassador of the Empire was tall and elegant, with 4 arms and skin that shifted between blue and silver depending on the light. Everything about the creature suggested nobility and ancient power. Next to sat Director of the Collective, a being that looked like it was made of living metal and crystal. "Welcome, Captain of Earth," said in perfect English. The ambassador's voice was musical and warm, but could hear the condescension underneath. "We are honored to meet humanity's representative." Took her seat at the table. "Thank you for the invitation, Ambassador. Earth is interested in learning about galactic civilization." "Of course you are," said Director. "All emerging species go through this phase. The transition from planetary thinking to galactic thinking can be difficult, but we are here to help." For the next hour, listened as the aliens explained how the Confederation worked. It was a complex organization with thousands of member species, but the power structure was simple enough. Advanced species like thee and controlled policy and military matters. Newer members provided raw materials and labor while gradually earning more privileges over centuries. Earth would begin as a probationary member, explained. You would have access to basic galactic technologies and trade networks. In return, you would contribute resources and follow Confederation guidelines for space development. What kind of guidelines? Asked. Oh, the usual things, said. Approved faster-than-light drive designs, standard defensive systems, proper waste disposal protocols. Nothing too restrictive. Kept her expression neutral, but inside she was amazed at their arrogance. The aliens were talking about giving humanity technologies that Earth had surpassed decades ago. Their standard defensive systems were probably weaker than the Leviathan's emergency backup shields. We understand that human military technology is quite primitive, continued. Those missile-based weapon systems we detected would need to be replaced with proper energy beam arrays. Kinetic weapons are so crude. I see, said, and who would provide these new weapons? The Confederation maintains strict control over military technologies, said. We cannot allow dangerous weapons to spread to species that might not use them responsibly. Your current arsenal would be safely disposed of and replaced with appropriate defensive systems. Notice that several other alien representatives were nodding along. This was clearly normal procedure for them. Take away the newcomers' weapons and replace them with inferior technology that could be controlled remotely if necessary. What about our territory? Asked. What systems would Earth be allowed to control? We've prepared a generous allocation, said, activating a holographic star map. 12 systems in the outer spiral, all with useful resources. Some even have habitable planets that could support human colonies with minimal terraforming. Studied the map. The systems were all far from major trade routes and galactic civilization centers. They were the kind of territory that colonial powers had always given to subject peoples, enough to keep them busy, not enough to make them powerful. These systems are quite far from Earth, she observed. Distance is less important once you have proper FTL technology, said. Our standard jump drives can cover that distance in only 3 or 4 days. Had to work hard not to laugh. The Leviathan could cross the same distance in 20 minutes. You seem hesitant, Captain, said. Perhaps you were expecting more generous terms. I assure you, these are quite favorable for a species at your level of development. I'm just wondering if there might be some misunderstandings about our level of development, said carefully. Oh, we've done extensive observations, said. Radio telescopes, chemical rockets, primitive nuclear technology. Very impressive for a young species, but hardly advanced by galactic standards. Our military intelligence confirms this assessment, added a new voice. Turned to see a massive alien in what looked like military dress uniform. I am General, or of the Defense Force. We have analyzed your missile technologies and spacecraft capabilities. Adequate for planetary defense, but not suitable for modern warfare. Met the General's 6 eyes without blinking. And what happens if Earth chooses not to accept these terms? The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. General or leaned forward, his battle-scarred face serious. That would be unfortunate, he said slowly. The galaxy can be dangerous for unprotected species. Pirates, rogue AI networks, various hostile entities. The Confederation provides security for all member species. I see, stood up from the table. I think I need to consult with my government about these generous offers. Would it be possible to arrange a tour of my ship? I believe some of your representatives expressed interest in human technology. Ambassador's skin shifted to a brighter blue, which briefing material said indicated pleasure. Certainly, We would be fascinated to see how humans approach space travel. As led the alien delegation toward the docking ring, she activated a hidden communicator in her uniform. The signal would reach the 7th Fleet ships hiding in the outer system. "Stand by for inspection tour," she transmitted. "Show them everything." It was time for the Confederation to learn what humanity really was. Ambassador stepped aboard the Leviathan with the confidence of someone who had seen 1,000 primitive ships from 1,000 emerging species. The diplomat expected cramped corridors, crude control panels, and the barely controlled chaos that marked most young civilizations' attempts at space travel. The first surprise was the airlock itself. Instead of a simple mechanical door, the entrance seemed to flow open like liquid metal, creating a perfect seal without any visible joints or mechanisms. The walls looked like they were made of some kind of adaptive material that shifted color slightly as the aliens walked past. "Interesting design," commented Director, running a metallic hand along the corridor wall. "What is this material?" "We call it smart matter," said Chief Martinez, who was leading the tour. "It can change its properties based on environmental needs. Harder than steel when we need protection, soft as cloth when we need comfort." General Or stopped walking and stared at the wall. His species had been working on similar materials for over 1,000 years with limited success. "How do you control the molecular structure?" "Oh, that's the easy part," Martinez said cheerfully. "We just tell it what we want it to do." Watched the aliens' faces as they processed this information. The Confederation representatives were starting to realize that their assumptions about human technology might have been wrong. The tour continued to the ship's bridge, where Captain waited at her command station. The control systems looked deceptively simple, with holographic displays that responded to thought as much as touch. Lieutenant was running a navigation update, and the stars on the main screen shifted as the computer calculated jump routes to 17 different destinations simultaneously. "Your computational systems are quite advanced," observed. "What is your processing capacity?" "About 50,000, said casually, not looking up from her work, "though we're thinking of upgrading soon." There was dead silence from the alien delegation. Knew why. According to the intelligence briefings, the most powerful computers in Confederation space could barely handle a single. The Leviathan's navigation computer was more powerful than the entire collective's central processing network. "Perhaps you could show us your engine room," suggested Ambassador. The diplomat's skin had shifted to a deeper blue color that briefing notes said indicated confusion or concern. Martinez led them down to the engineering section, chattering happily about human technology along the way. "The fusion reactors are just for backup power," he explained. "The main engines run on reality manipulation cores, much more efficient for long-distance travel." General Or stopped walking again. "Reality manipulation." "Sure, we discovered how to adjust local spacetime properties about 60 years ago. Made faster-than-light travel much easier." Martinez opened a viewing port that looked into the engine core. "See those spheres? Each one can fold spacetime in a radius of about 10 light years. When we want to go somewhere, we just fold space until our destination comes to us." Watched the alien general's face turn several different colors. The military had been using drives for 3,000 years, and they still couldn't fold space across more than a few hundred kilometers. "How fast can your ship travel?" the general asked quietly. "Oh, the Leviathan isn't built for speed," Martinez replied. "She's an exploration vessel. We can probably manage about 5,000 light-years per hour in normal operation. Our courier ships are much faster, of course." Director made a sound like grinding metal. The fastest ships in the Confederation could travel maybe 50 light-years per hour, and only for short distances. "Perhaps we could see your defensive systems," suggested the director. Nodded to Martinez, who led them to what looked like an empty room with a few small panels on the walls. "This is our main defense center," he said proudly. "The gravitational pulse cannons are hidden in the hull, along with the quantum disruptor arrays and the reality anchor systems." Quantum disruptors. General Orr's voice was barely a whisper. "They're really useful for clearing space debris," Martinez explained. "You just point them at something and tell the quarks to stop holding together. Very clean, no radiation or explosive residue." Could see the implications running through the general's mind. Quantum disruptors could unmake any kind of matter at the subatomic level. They were theoretical weapons that even the most advanced Confederation species couldn't build. "What about the gravitational pulse cannons?" asked Ambassador. "Those are for heavier work," Martinez said. "If you need to move a moon or create a temporary black hole to clean up a dangerous anomaly. We don't use them very often because they can be hard on local space-time." The alien delegation had stopped asking questions. They were too busy trying to process what they had seen, decided it was time to provide some context. "Chief Martinez," she said, "why don't you show our guests the weapon test we conducted yesterday?" Martinez activated a holographic display that showed the Leviathan's approach to rest. In the recording, the ship fired a single gravitational pulse at a small asteroid about 1,000,000 kilometers away. The asteroid didn't explode or vaporize. Instead, it folded inward on itself and disappeared, leaving only a brief flash of Hawking radiation. "That was a Class 4 pulse," Martinez said conversationally. "We have Class 10 pulses for serious problems, but we've never had to use them in the field." General Orr sat down heavily in the nearest chair. His species had been the dominant military power in the Confederation for 2,000 years, and he was looking at weapons that made their best technology look like stone axes. "Captain," said Ambassador slowly, "exactly what kind of ship is this?" "The Leviathan is a diplomatic and exploration vessel," replied. "She's designed for first contact situations and peaceful scientific missions. We brought her because your message requested a small ship appropriate for diplomatic meetings." "This is your small ship." Director's voice was flat with disbelief. "Oh yes," said. "Our actual warships are much larger. The Thor-class dreadnoughts are about 2 kilometers long, and they're designed specifically for combat operations." Activated her personal communicator. "Lieutenant, please show our guests the fleet positions." The holographic display updated to show the space around rest. Suddenly, dozens of new contacts appeared on the screen. Human ships had been hiding throughout the system, invisible to Confederation sensors but perfectly willing to reveal themselves now. "We brought backup," explained. "Standard procedure for first contact with unknown species. 57 ships from the 7th Fleet are currently in position around this system." Ambassador's skin had turned a pale, almost white color. General Orr was staring at the display like he was seeing his own death. "Captain," said Director very carefully, "we may need to reconsider our initial offer to humanity." Smiled for the first time since the tour began. "I think that would be wise, Director. Earth has some counter-proposals that might be more appropriate for the situation." General Orr stood in the private communication room aboard rest, his 6 eyes blazing with fury as he spoke to the High Command. The holographic image of Grand Admiral flickered slightly, but the ancient warrior's anger came through clearly. "You are telling me," said the Grand Admiral slowly, "that a primitive species from the galaxy's edge has military technology that surpasses our own." "Not just surpasses, my lord," Orr replied. "Their weapons make our finest warships look like children's toys. A single human ship could destroy our entire 3rd Fleet." "Impossible. Our intelligence reports clearly showed that humans use chemical rockets and nuclear weapons." "Our intelligence was wrong." Or activated a recording of the Leviathan's weapon test. "They can create artificial black holes, unmake matter at the quantum level, and fold spacetime like we fold cloth. My lord, if they have 50 ships in this system alone, how many do they have in total? The Grand Admiral was silent for a long moment, watching the recording of the asteroid disappearing into nothingness. How many years have they been watching us, or how long have they been hiding their true capabilities? Unknown, my lord, but Captain spoke of their weapons as if they were normal tools. This is not new technology for them. Then we have only one option. Grand Admiral's image leaned forward. Humanity must be destroyed before they become a threat to the Confederation order. I am dispatching the first battle fleet to your location. Or felt a chill run through his body. The first battle fleet was the pride of the Empire, 96 of their most advanced warships. It was enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. My lord, are you certain, if we attack them and fail? We will not fail, General. The Confederation has maintained peace and order for 10,000 years. We will not allow some upstart species to upset the balance of power. 6 hours later, space around Rest began to fill with warships. They arrived in groups, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Each ship was a work of art and engineering, with organic curves and weapons that could crack planets. The smallest vessels were 200 meters long, the largest stretched over a kilometer. Captain watched the enemy fleet assemble from the bridge of the Leviathan. She had expected something like this to happen, but the scope of the response was impressive. 96 ships, reported Lieutenant, all armed with heavy plasma cannons, fusion torpedoes, and shield generators. They're taking positions to surround the station. Any word from our friends? Asked. Admiral confirms that the 4th Fleet is standing by at jump distance. Captain Williams reports the Thor is fully armed and ready. The 7th Fleet ships are maintaining stealth positions. Nodded. The aliens thought they had the advantage of numbers, but they were counting ships that couldn't see the real battlefield. Her communicator chimed with an incoming message from General Orr. Captain, you will surrender immediately and submit to Confederation justice. Accepted the communication channel. The General's face appeared on her screen, flanked by Admiral and Director. All 3 aliens looked grim. General, what exactly are we surrendering for? Violation of Confederation military technology treaties, Orr said. Possession of weapons of mass destruction without proper authorization, threatening the peace and stability of galactic civilization. Raised an eyebrow. We haven't threatened anyone, General. We've been very polite. Your mere existence is a threat, snapped Ambassador. No single species can be allowed to possess such overwhelming military superiority. It upsets the balance that has maintained peace for. I see, said, and if we refuse to surrender, then you will be destroyed, General Orr said simply. The 1st Battle Fleet has enough firepower to sterilize every planet in this system. You cannot possibly stand against 96 warships. Looked out at the fleet arranging itself around Rest. The enemy ships were beautiful and deadly, representing thousands of years of military development and the combined might of the galaxy's most powerful empire. General, I need to consult with my government about your demands. I'm requesting a 12-hour delay before we respond. You have 6 hours, Orr replied. Use the time wisely. After the communication ended, sent a single coded message through quantum channels. The message was brief. Sunset Protocol authorized. Full disclosure approved. Lieutenant looked up from her station. Captain, should I prepare surrender documents? Almost laughed. Lieutenant, please prepare the fleet for Operation Sunset and send a message to Earth Command. The galaxy is about to meet humanity. Throughout the system, hidden human ships began powering up their weapons and preparing too. The 7th Fleet had been designed specifically for this moment, when humanity would have to reveal its true capabilities to hostile aliens. Admiral received message aboard the flagship Independence, 40 light-years away. Within minutes, the Fourth Fleet began its jump towards rest. 23 of humanity's most advanced warships, including 2 of the massive Thor-class dreadnoughts. The Thor herself, commanded by Captain Williams, moved closer to the inner system. Her weapons were charged and ready, her reality anchor systems prepared to prevent enemy ships from escaping to hyperspace. On Sres Station, Ambassador stood in the observation deck watching the fleet take its positions. The diplomat had supported General Orr's plan, but now felt a growing unease. Director said, "Do you think we are making a mistake?" "How so?" the metallic being replied. The humans did not seem surprised by our ultimatum. Captain acted as if she had been expecting this exact confrontation. Director considered this. "You think they prepared for war with us?" "I think they prepared for war with everyone," said quietly. When Martinez showed us their weapons, he spoke like someone who had been planning to fight superior numbers. What if this entire first contact was designed to reveal our capabilities while hiding their own? Before could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. The sensor operators were detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system, power levels that shouldn't be possible from the small human fleet they had tracked. General Orr's voice echoed through the station's communication system. "All ships to battle stations. The humans are preparing something." His 12-hour deadline was still 6 hours away, but Operation Sunset was already beginning. The 6 hours passed slowly aboard rest. General Orr stood in the command center of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, watching his fleet maintain perfect formation around the station. 96 warships formed a sphere of destruction that could vaporize entire worlds. The human ship Leviathan hung motionless near the station, looking small and helpless against the assembled might of the Confederation's most powerful military force. General Orr allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Whatever technology the humans possessed, they could not possibly stand against such overwhelming numbers. "General," reported his sensor officer, "the human ship is requesting communication." "Put Captain on screen." His face appeared on the main display, and Orr was surprised to see that she looked completely calm. No fear, no desperation, no signs of someone facing inevitable destruction. "General Orr," said politely, "I have Earth's response to your ultimatum. I hope your government has chosen wisdom over pride, Captain." "Actually, we've chosen a third option," smiled, and something in that expression made Orr feel uneasy. "We're going to show you why threatening humanity is a very bad idea." Before the general could respond, his sensor officer called out in alarm. "Sir, new contacts throughout the system, multiple energy signatures appearing everywhere." The tactical display exploded with new information. 57 ships appeared simultaneously, materializing out of empty space where the sensors had detected nothing. But these weren't the same size as the Leviathan. Many of them were larger, much larger. "How is this possible?" Orr demanded. "Our sensors showed empty space." "The humans have stealth technology beyond our understanding," his tactical officer reported. "These ships were here all along, completely invisible to our detection systems." But that wasn't the worst surprise. As Orr watched, 23 more ships appeared at the edge of the system. These were massive, the largest over 2 kilometers long and bristling with weapons that the sensors couldn't even identify. "Admiral, we are completely surrounded," his navigation officer said quietly. 80 human ships now have firing positions on our fleet." General Orr stared at the tactical display in growing horror. In minutes, humanity had revealed a military force that outnumbered his own and possessed technology that made warships look primitive. His voice continued from the communication channel. "General, I'd like to demonstrate something for you and your allies. Please observe the asteroid field in Sector 7. Orr looked at his tactical display and saw 12 large asteroids scattered throughout the target area. They were unremarkable chunks of rock and metal, the kind of debris found in most star systems. All human ships, this is Captain, announced on an open channel. Commence precision demonstration. Each ship select one target. What happened next? Everything General or thought he knew about warfare. The human ships fired simultaneously, but their weapons weren't the plasma beams or fusion missiles that dominated Confederation military doctrine. Instead, beams of pure energy lanced out across space, striking each asteroid with mathematical precision. But the asteroids didn't explode or vaporize. Instead, they began to change. The laws of physics themselves seemed to bend around each target as the human weapons rewrote reality on a fundamental level. Within seconds, where 12 irregular asteroids had been, 12 perfect geometric sculptures now floated in space. Crystallized spacetime formed intricate patterns that hurt to look at directly, as if the human weapons had turned raw matter into living art. What kind of weapons are those? Or whispered. Heard him through the open channel. Those are precision reality manipulators, General. We use them for construction projects and scientific research. Of course, they have other applications. To demonstrate, one of the human dreadnoughts fired a single shot at a moon-sized asteroid near the edge of the system. This time, the weapon wasn't set for artistic creation. The asteroid simply ceased to exist, as if it had never been there at all. That was a Class 8 pulse, explained conversationally. We have Class 12 pulses available if we need to remove something larger, like, say, an entire enemy fleet. The silence on the command frequencies was absolute. Every ship in General Orr's fleet had seen the demonstration, and every captain understood the implications. The humans had weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Against such technology, shields and armor were meaningless. General Orr said, her voice still perfectly polite, the Terran Federation has a few things to say about our place in galactic civilization. His image was replaced by an official seal, and suddenly every screen in the Confederation fleet was showing the same broadcast. A new voice spoke, strong and confident. I am President of the United Earth Federation, the voice said. For 3 centuries, humanity has been preparing for contact with galactic civilization. We watched the Confederation's expansion through radio telescope arrays and quantum detection networks. We studied your languages, your politics, and your military capabilities. The broadcast continued. We were not impressed. The Confederation maintains order through military intimidation and technological suppression. Advanced species control weaker ones by providing inferior technology and demanding tribute. This system has prevented galactic civilization from reaching its true potential. Humanity rejects this system entirely. President's image appeared now, an elderly woman with steel-gray eyes. We offer friendship and trade to any species that desires peaceful contact with Earth. We will share our scientific knowledge with civilizations that value learning and cooperation. We will defend ourselves and our allies against any threat. The president's expression hardened. But we will not bow to bullies, regardless of how large their fleets might be. His voice returned to the channel. General, or you have a choice. You can order your fleet to withdraw and return to space, or you can test your weapons against ours. I should mention that we've been preparing for contact with hostile alien species for over 300 years. We'd be disappointed if the galaxy turned out to be boring. General Orr looked at his tactical display, where 80 human ships maintained perfect firing positions on his fleet. His own weapons could probably destroy a few of them before the reality manipulators erased every ship from existence. All ships, he said quietly, prepare for withdrawal to hyperspace. Sir, his tactical officer asked in confusion. We are leaving, Orr said, immediately. Within minutes, the fleet had vanished back into hyperspace, leaving Rest and its human visitors in peace. Ambassador stood in the station's observation deck, watching the human ships patrol the system with casual efficiency. Director joined the ambassador, both aliens trying to process what they had witnessed. "The Confederation will never be the same," said quietly. "No," agreed. "Half our member species will establish independent relations with humanity within a year. The old power structures are finished." His voice echoed through the station's communication system. "Rest Station Control, this is Captain. Any species interested in establishing diplomatic relations with the Terran Federation may contact us through standard quantum channels. We look forward to building a new kind of galactic community." As the human ships prepared to depart, sent one final message to Admiral on the Independence. "Mission accomplished, Admiral. The galaxy knows who we are now." "Copy that, Captain. Welcome to the big leagues." The Leviathan jumped to hyperspace, followed by the rest of the human fleet. Behind them, they left a galaxy that would never again underestimate the species from the small blue world at the edge of space. Humanity had arrived, and everything was about to change.